Okay, hello everyone. So we'll make a start. I think if there's any more people who want to join us shortly, they'll join in. But first, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who joins us this morning. Great to see so many people on. We've been delighted by the response we've had to this. Obviously, join us in strange times. Hope everyone is safe and well. We launched Raytec Live as a kind of a response because we planned to be attending the Intertraffic show in Amsterdam towards the end of last month, which was obviously postponed till next year. But we thought it was a good opportunity to, in line with that, to do our own event, which we've branded Raytec Live. This is obviously the transport edition. In place of the Intertraffic show. Like I said, great to see so many of you on. And I'll quickly take you through what we're going to cover today and what the event sort of has in store. So first, the agenda. So looking through the names of people who sort of signed up and registered for this, recognise a lot of people there. So it's great to see some familiar names, but also a lot of people who I didn't know. So great to know that we've got some new people on here who are new to Raytec, and it's going to be a pleasure to introduce you to the company and to our products and give you an overview of what we do. So that'll be the first point, just to give you a quick introduction to who we are. We'll talk about our transport lighting products, particularly our constant and pulse lighting ranges, and a bit more detail around those. We've got an exciting product announcement for you today as well, so look forward to sharing that news with you later. And we also have a Q&A at the end, so a big thank you for everyone who's submitted their questions to us. As part of the sign up, there's some really good questions in there, and we have a number of those which we've picked out. Unfortunately, it's impossible to cover them all off, and we will get back to everyone who submitted a question, so thanks for that. But we've picked out a few to include in today's end of today's event. And then if you do have any additional questions, please do feel free to leave those. There should be a comment section or a question section in the GoToWebinar pane down the side of the screen. So if you want to leave any questions there, we'll try and unmute you at the end one by one and go on through any additional questions if the technology allows us, but we'll do our best for that. So firstly, just to introduce you to who Raytec are. So you can see our factory there in the image. From today, we're actually doing everything from home, as I'm sure a lot of you are. UK is currently in lockdown, so we're not doing this live from our factory in the UK, although we do have our production staff are still continuing to build product and continue to operate, but those who are able to work from home are doing so. But first thing to mention is that Raytec are a UK manufacturer, and everything is designed and manufactured from the facility which you see in the photo there. We're very proud of that fact, and another benefit as well as just the fact that we make all our products in the UK is the fact that we have everything under one roof as well. So as well as production, we also have sales, technical support, our technical and design team, all under one roof. So we do feel it's a centre for excellence, if you like, in terms of lighting and being able to provide support to our customers. So we are fairly unique in that regard. And we also are specialists in LED. So Raytec have been in existence since 2005. And in that time, every product which we've designed, every product which we have built and shipped has been an LED product. So we do certainly see ourselves as experts in that field, and that runs throughout everything that we do and throughout all our products as well. So that's something we're very proud of too. And then just to give you a little bit overview of the markets which we operate in as a company. As I say, exclusively LED lighting products, but that covers various different markets and also gives you a little bit of a flavour of our history as well. When we started in 2005, it was very much focused on the security industry, so lighting for high-end security systems, perimeter lighting in infrared and white light. But an increasing number of our products were being used in transport applications, and this has led to us to focus more on traffic as time has gone by, or transport as time has gone by, and to focus more of our efforts on that. And we've also developed our own range of post lighting products and products specifically for the transport sector, which obviously we'll cover in part today. Using our sort of knowledge and expertise in LEDs, it also led us to develop a range of hazardous area products. So I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with our Spartan brand, which is exclusively our LED hazardous area products, and that's also led to us develop a range of industrial products too. So that gives you a flavour of the different markets and sectors in which we operate in. But today, obviously, in place of the Intertraffic exhibition, we want to really focus on the transport sector to tell you about our products and some of the testing and things that we do around lighting for transport sectors. And before we go into that in more detail, I just want to really give an overview just to clarify of what we mean by that. So what do we mean by lighting for the transport sector? And really it covers a broad range of applications and different uses and different types of sites. So a few images here just to run through as examples. So certainly traffic is a very popular one. The image example here is from a motorway in the UK. So an increasing number of smart motorways are in use across the world, and lighting plays an important role in that, whether it be for things like variable speed checks, lane assistance, that kind of thing. So a wide range of different uses within smart motorways and high speed applications. Also, for applications, again with traffic, but tends to be on lower speed, so things like tolling, gateway entries, access areas, that sort of thing. So this was a particular example from Heathrow Airport, but again, so a mixture of low and high speed traffic applications for ANPR purposes. And as well as that, also rail, so not just traffic, but also rail applications we're seeing an increasing popularity and increasing demand for. And then a little bit more, which we'll talk about today, is going back to the traffic side, is a more recent trend of identifying people inside vehicles as well. So what we're trying to say really here is there's a broad range of different uses within the transport sector, but what key thing is consistent with all these types of applications is that lighting plays an important role in that, in being able to get the best quality images and get the best possible results from these types of solutions. So to start off, we want to take you through our transport lighting range. So obviously, we kind of see this as a little bit like we do an exhibition. Obviously, we can't do that in the normal sense, so we want to take you virtually through our transport lighting range. So we'll start off with Vario 2. Now, anyone who's familiar with the Vario 2 or with our products, this might be the product which you've come across in the past. So this is a constant light illuminator with a range of different sizes and different specs. I just want to give you an overview of the key features which Vario 2 offers. Firstly, high performance. So as well as transport sector, this is also used extensively in security applications where there's a requirement for long distances and also wide angles for things like 360-degree cameras, or so we need that long distance, that wide angle performance from our illuminators, which obviously relates to the transport sector as well. But using that sort of knowledge and expertise in LED allows us to deliver best performance, but also long life and low maintenance. Flexible illumination, and what I really mean by here is some of the unique features and design features of the illuminators. So some of our illuminators feature adaptive illumination. So the particular one which you see on the screen here is a single panel, but we also offer double and triple panel units, which you'll see later in the slideshow, which allows the angle of the light to be adjusted in real time and on site. And they're also have interchangeable lens system as well. So if you're familiar with these products, it's very, very easy to change the beam angle, and that can be done on site through a lens system which slides in and out of the front of the illuminator. So you can take your standard beam angle and adjust that on site to different beam angles too. So the key here is that it gives us flexibility in illumination and be able to change and suit things for different sites. Network control, and we also offer Vario 2 products as an IP variant, which gives the ultimate level of control and being able to communicate with other devices. So IP PoE variants can integrate with a number of different systems. They can communicate with other devices, which allows us to automate the lighting responses and pre-program those to give us the sort of the highest level of connectivity and the highest level of control as well over these illuminators. And we also offer these illuminators as hybrid variants as well. So these variants combine white light and infrared into a single illuminator, and very much gives us a two-in-one solution. So effectively a single illuminator or a single package with white light and infrared, but with the power and performance of two separate illuminators. And again, that we've started to see that can have some relevance for different sectors outside security and also in the transport sector. So Vario 2, in terms of a transport or traffic perspective, is very much a constant light illuminator. So the light is constantly switched on. And now I'm going to take you through our pulse lighting range, which is Polestar. So the first thing to mention about Polestar, as I say, is our pulse lighting range. The first thing is that it features all the core benefits of our other products, of the Raytec core benefits, which I mentioned on the Vario 2 illuminator. So the most high quality and reliable LED illumination, and also using some of those unique features such as interchangeable lens systems and adaptive illumination on the double and triple panel units. Polestar is highly flexible and configurable, so Polestar units actually have a separate power supply or controller, which what gives it the pulse functionality. So you can see obviously it's based on a similar sort of platform as Vario 2 that we went through in the previous slide, but with that ability to pulse. And it's highly flexible, so the pulse can be modified. So there's a built-in or embedded web interface or GUI, which allows you to control that pulse intensity, to change the length or the frequency of the pulse, and it really allows you to tailor the product for different applications. So as we went through in that earlier slide and showed the broad range of different types of applications at different speeds and different requirements for capturing number plates or for capturing different information, all that is really important, that we can control the intensity of the pulse, the length of the pulse, and the frequency, so we can tailor it to each site. And there's also some useful tools which helps with the commissioning setup of Polestar as well. So we have a separate discovery and maintenance tools just to really make that the setup easy and to allow commissioning to happen quickly and easy. And the key with Polestar, which we'll go through some of the benefits of pulse lighting and some of the features and performance, but obviously the idea is that it can easily integrate with cameras and with the shutter of a camera. So the light is only switched on in time with the camera shutter, using a TTL input to synchronize that pulse with the camera shutter. So to quickly want to take you through the different sizes and variants of Polestar. So the smallest unit is the i24, which is one large LED panel, and as I said, with that external power supply or controller which comes with it. But we offer various different sizes within the range as well. So moving up to double panels, on a slightly small LED panel, i48, which use two large panels, 3 large panels for the I-72 and also combined 2+2 units for the I-96. So there's a wide variety of different sizes, again, to suit that broad range of different applications and different requirements for post lighting. And all these variants are available in white light and other wavelengths, but we'll talk a little bit about the different wavelengths that we offer across all of our products in a later slide as well. So that gives you an overview of the pulse lighting products and our constant light products, Polestar and Vario 2. But what we want to focus on just a little bit is some of the theory and some of the reason why you would choose a pulse lighting product. So we'll quickly go through some of the benefits. One of the most significant ones is the fact it allows us to generate more light or more power. So because the illuminator is only switched on for a fraction of the time, because it's synchronized with that camera shutter, it's not on constantly as a constant light illuminator is on, it's only on when it's needed. There's a lot of scope to increase the power output. So in terms of a comparison between our pulse lighting products and our constant light, we achieve around 400% more power with a pulse lighting product than we would with an equivalent size constant light. So we're getting a lot more power by pulsing LEDs. It also helps us to reduce the running costs. And for that reason, because the light is only switched on for a fraction of the time, it means that the light is dormant for the remainder when it's not being used. So that really allows us to bring those running costs right down in comparison to where a constant illuminator, which is switched on for much longer periods. And that can actually allow the illuminator to benefit from a longer lifetime. And the key point here to mention is that lifetime of LEDs is governed by the average operating temperature of the LEDs, not by the number of times which it is switched on or off. So by only switching the illuminator on for the time when it's needed, and for the rest of the time it being switched off, allows that average operating temperature to be reduced and for the illuminator to benefit from longer lifetimes. So that's a quick summary of why you would choose a pulse illuminator over a constant illuminator, but of course it does depend on the application. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go forward, but more light, reducing our running costs and also benefiting from longer lifetime as well. So that's it in theory, but I just want to show you a quick comparison which we've done. There's a quick video here which shows the difference between results from an AMPR perspective or an LPR, depending on where you are in the world or what you call it. But this is a comparison between capturing the number plate using a constant light illuminator and a pulse light illuminator. Both equivalent sizes using the same number of LEDs. The only difference between this is one is constant and one is pulsed. So I'll quickly run the video now for you. So you can see straight away that the brightness and the clarity of the illuminator of the number plate on the right hand side, which is captured by the pulse illuminator, is much greater than that of a constant light. Now, I'll play that one for you one more time just in case you want to watch the footage again. One thing just to clarify here, one point to make is that constant light is still certainly a viable solution for some applications. We're not saying that pulse light is always superior or always a better choice than constant light, but what we are saying is that you will need much more power if you're using constant light than you can get from an equivalent size pulse illuminator, because you benefit from that increase in pulse or increase in intensity by pulsing the illuminator. And then lastly, just a couple of on the sort of constant and pulse debate is just to again, just to recap on some of the typical applications in which they would be used. So on the left, you can see the example we used earlier, which was from Heathrow Airport, which was using constant light, one of our Vario 2 units. So commonly with constant light illuminators, the distances you'll have to gather or you'll have to achieve will be shorter, or the speed will be much lower. So obviously at a vehicle entry point like this, the car will either be very slow or completely stationary, so not as much light is required. So in this instance, the constant light illuminator was perfectly suitable. But then examples such as the one on the right, which is which is larger distances, so illuminator is mounted at a higher level, and also vehicles likely to be moving at a faster speed, which requires more light, and means that post is an ideal solution for that. So again, that just gives you some examples and some ideas of the kind of areas where a constant light illuminator and a post light illuminator would be used. So we touched on wavelength briefly when we were talking about the different products that we offer for Vario2 and Polestar, but I want to run through the different wavelengths which we do offer. So our standard offering is white light and infrared, and all our variants are available. White light or infrared. When we say infrared, we're referring to 850 nanometers. That's our standard infrared wavelength. But we are seeing we do have requirements for specialist applications and for a wider range now of different types of applications, which we use other wavelengths of light. So we do use 940 nanometer, which we class as covert IR for some applications, commonly in rail. So your 850 nanometer infrared will give a red glow from the LEDs, which it is visible to the human eye, but we class it as semi-covert. But obviously for applications where they don't want to see any red glow from the illuminator, then we sometimes they will go for a 940 nanometer option, which we class as covert IR. But there are other wavelengths as well, which we're starting to see, and we've included 730 nanometer here. We're going to talk about this a little bit more detail. We did have lots of questions, so again, thank you for the questions you put in. A common theme of that was around 730 nanometers or seeing through windscreens, which is where this wavelength of light would typically be used. So we're going to focus on this a little bit more and show you some examples of some testing which we did last year. So before we go through the testing and the images to show the difference between the different wavelengths of light, we just want to talk about some of the challenges of seeing through windscreens. The first one is that it requires significantly more power compared to AMPR applications. So there are different reasons for that, but largely is because light coming into the cabin of a vehicle is blocked, maybe down to the type of the windscreen which is used, and that may be blocking certain wavelengths of light, which means some wavelengths are more suitable than others, and obviously the reflectivity of the glass as well. So, but the overall message there is that when you're trying to see through a windscreen, you require significantly more power compared to AMPR applications. There's also challenges such as daytime challenges. So the most challenging scenario is trying to capture images in daylight when there's things like cloud in the sky. This is just a quick image to demonstrate that. So daytime conditions and things like cloud can make it really challenging to see through the windscreen due to the reflections which it causes. And then tinted windows as well is also something which we need to be aware of. So again, it's that issue with blocking light which is coming into the cabin, and we need more light to get through and see what is inside. So the next couple of slides is just to demonstrate that and show you that in some of the testing which we've done. So we can see from the different images, so we have standard infrared in the top left, where we are getting good images. And I'll just say as a caveat to this that all this testing was done at night. So like I say, the most challenging conditions are daytime, but this is you'll still see from the comparison between these images the effect which different wavelengths of light have. We can see from the standard IR in the top left-hand corner, 850 nanometers, that we're getting a good image. Compared to the covert IR on the right-hand side, which is where the light is really struggling to penetrate inside the vehicle. That's down to the low camera sensitivity against 940 nanometers, which again, the camera struggles to pick that up. White light, you can see in the bottom left where we are getting a good image, but the problem with white light is that it's very bright and could be distracting to the driver, so quite often isn't suitable for many applications where we're seeing through the windscreen. And then bottom right, we can see far red 730 nanometers, which similar to the standard IR, perhaps at this angle you can't see a huge level of difference. If we zoom in, you can see that a bit more clearly. 730 this time is on the left, and the 850mm is on the right. So you can see we have a higher clarity of image. We can pick up more details, and certainly when conditions are more challenging and there was daytime conditions to overcome, then that difference would be more pronounced. And if we go to the next set of slides, we can see a real difference here in terms of identifying passengers in the rear of vehicles. So you can see on all images aside really from the 730nm, the far right and the bottom right, we're struggling even on the white light and standard IR to see clearly inside the vehicle. But with 730nm, that's making a real difference. So that shows the difference which we're getting with a different wavelength of light. So that gives you an overview of how 730nm can work, and also an overview of the different products and in the Raytec range, as well as constant versus pulsed. But now I want to move on to talk about a new product announcement. So we plan to unveil this at Intertraffic. Obviously, we weren't able to do that, so we thought this was the next best place to do it. So I just want to introduce our new pulse lighting products, a new range of pulse lighting products which will sit under the Polestar brand. So these products have been transitioned to us from our sister company, Gardasoft. So some of you may recognize the products here. You may have seen them before. So they were initially developed by Gardasoft, who are a sister company to Raytec and part of the Optex group of companies as we are. So these will, going forward, will now sit under the Raytec brand, but we're excited to be to welcome these into our range and to and the opportunities that this will bring. So we want to talk just a little bit and go through each product. You can see the three on the screen there, but we'll run through each one just to give you a little bit of information about each. So the first one is the VCT, used predominantly for mobile applications, and for also good for OEM applications, given that it's available with or without the enclosure. So the unit you can see there is with the enclosure, but we also offer that as a board-only variant. So very good and easy to integrate into part of wider systems, which often pulse lighting products are. So good flexibility with that. The VTS product. So this is very much a mid-power within the range. Obviously, all these units you can see here are single panel, but this gives us compared. Obviously, went through the range of Polestar products earlier, and this means that we can get more power from a single panel as we can with the higher power VTR product as well. So VTR is the highest power product in the range. It's also the highest power Polestar product in the range, and we offer that in two sizes. So you have the VTR4 and the VTR6. These products are on our website, so when we share the slides out after this, we can include links to these and to all of our Polestar products as well, so you can have a look and comparison between those. In terms of what these new products will provide to us and to our customers, so one of the key differences is that between the Polestar products, which we went through earlier, is that the pulse controller is integrated. So whereas our existing Polestar products, we have a lamp and an external PSU or external controller, everything in these new products is integrated. So there's no need for anything external. It can all be an all-in-one solution, if you like. And secondly, we believe that it'll open up new possibilities for different applications and new projects for us as well, and for our customers. So mainly due to the fact that with very different features, and we feel it gives a wider range and a wider possibility for our customers in terms of different features and different benefits. Obviously, the fact that we have integrated the pulse controllers integrated on these units will be a benefit to some, and we can get more power from single panel units rather than having multiple panels as well. So it will give you more flexibility in terms of specifying products and then the opportunities which will bring to it. And certainly power is another thing as well. So it increases our sort of top end of our range of power we're able to offer from these products is a full Polestar range. So quickly want to show you this graph which highlights that. So in the grey bars on the left hand side is our current or existing Polestar products, which we went through earlier in the presentation. So that runs through the different sizes, which we went through from the single panel i24 up to the double, triple, and then the 2+2 i96 panels. So you can see how that increases the sort of the relative power as we go up the scale, and that's a similar story for the new Polestar products as well, except we have more power at the top end with the VTR6, and we have more power from that single panel illuminated VTS20 as well as having sort of specialist applications, such as the VCT6 being for mobile and for OEM application as well. So we're excited by the opportunity that presents and by the flexibility that's going to give to our customers as well. Like I say, these are all on our website now, so when we share out the slides, we'll include links to those so you can find out more information about them. So that moves us on to our live Q&A. So like I said, thank you very much for everyone's questions who submitted them over the when signing up. That was great to see so many come in. So we've picked out a few. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to answer all of them, but we'll do our best, and hopefully some of the questions which people left were answered by the earlier slides as well. So at this point, I'll just invite John and Karine, who have joined us today as well. If you want to share your screens and turn on your microphones.
Hi there.
Hi everyone.
So we'll put the questions up on the screen which have been asked, and that we'll try and answer those as best we can through John and Karine. So first one. So how do Raytec cope with thermal management, seeing as LEDs give off lots of heat? John, I think you were going to pick this one up for us.
Yep. When we go about designing the product for Raytec, LEDs are our first consideration and how we manage them thermally. So you'd say on a lot of the core Raytec product there is a large heat sink, and that is used to keep the LEDs cool. On the next slide, we've got some images actually showing the temperatures the LEDs run at. So that's a high pressure sodium light on the left hand side, and on the right hand side that's one of the high power Raytec products. So you can see the LEDs are sitting at 42 degrees, and LEDs generally go up to about 105 degrees, so we have a lot of margin and headroom in there, so we treat the LEDs very gently. On the Pulse product, there's generally a smaller heat sink, because the LEDs are only on for a very small amount of time, in some cases down to only 1% of the time for duration, then thermal issues isn't that much of an issue around the LEDs. On the next slide, we also consider our control gear. So this is just showing the control gear on the back of our floodlights. So it's not just the LEDs that we review thermally, it's the whole system.
Yeah, so I guess it's certainly in transport applications, there's sort of twofold. As one is the fact that we can manage the heat correctly and do things with the heat sinks and make sure that we protect the LEDs. Then there's also that added benefit of Pulse products as well, and the fact that the nature of that and the fact that we can leave the product on only for a fraction of the time allows us to drive the LEDs harder and well not drive the LEDs harder but achieve more power from the products. Is that a fair summary, John?
It is, yes.
Okay, so I think so. Hopefully that's answered how sort of the Raytec approach to protecting the LEDs and keeping the LEDs cool and achieving that long life and maintenance. But so we'll move on to the next one. So, what camera specs and settings are required to work with post IR illuminators? Karine, hand this one over to you.
Yep. So so the specific camera feature that that you would require is that you would need a trigger output from the camera. So that's needed, and that needs to synchronize with the shutter of the camera. You would also need to know the timing between the trigger output and the camera shutter opening, and this can then be synchronized to the pulse of the illuminator.
Okay, great. I think the next question was kind of along similar lines to that, in terms of what affects the quality of the image. So this one was what affects illumination distance and image quality when monitoring highways at speeds of 130 kilometers per hour. So it's obviously quite a specific speed which we need to sort of look at as an overall solution, what was required for it. But I think we can talk about some general some general tips and things to look out for with this.
Yeah, so basically we have a couple of things that you need to take into account. So one of them would be the shutter speed. So if we just go to this first slide here, we're going to talk about so what typical shutter speeds we see and why you would use a quicker one. So in this image, it's an example which is fairly close to what was asked for, which is about 70 miles per hour, which I believe is 110 kilometers an hour. And in standard CCTV, we would normally see a shutter speed of 150, which would mean that a car would travel 62 centimeters every time the camera shutter is open. The issue with this is that it would cause a blurry image and motion blur. So in order to counteract that in LPR, we use a quicker shutter speed, which is 1/1000th, which is what we typically recommend. And in that case, at those speeds, the car would only travel 3 centimeters every time the camera shutter is open. So that means that you get a crisper image, but it also means it affects the amount of light that you need. And we're just going to look a little bit how that affects the light. So if we go to the next slide, here we have an example on how the faster the shutter speed you use, the less usable light you have on scene. So you can see loads of different examples on this one. So if you look to start with the half a second one, then we have a lot of light on there. It's might be too much light, there's glare and the focus is quite poor. But if you move over to 1/30, then now we're getting a good image. But then if you speed that up even more and you go over to 1/250, there's not enough light for the camera to see. So so that what we can conclude is that the quicker the shutter speed is, the more you'll need light. And if we use the example of 150 and 1/1000 from the cars previously, just to give you an idea, in that example, by changing from 150 to 1/1000, you now have 20 times less light on scene. So that's one of the important things to take into account within the shutter speed. The next thing that you need to look at is the lens aperture. So to reduce the effect of sunlight, of headlights, of other ambient lighting, it's important for us to close the aperture on the camera lens. So typically for LPR, we would recommend f-stop 5.6, and this has two effects. So one of the effects you can see in this image is that the higher the f number, the less usable light you can see. So for LPR applications, as we're using 5.6, we'd have to compensate for this reduction in light and add light on scene. So by changing that. So just to give you an idea as well, in CCTV, they probably use f-stop 1.4, just to give you an idea on what they're using in that example, which would be about 16 times less light in an ANPR application. And the second thing the lens aperture would do is on the next slide, is an added benefit of a higher f-stop on your camera lens is that it delivers a sort of a more focused image and an improved depth of field. So just to recap, for the lens aperture, we would typically use 5.6, f-stop 5.6 to avoid glare from sunlight headlights, and that would improve the depth of field and sharper focusing, but it would also mean that you need a lot more light on scene.
Yeah, I think what we can say as well is that we can support people with these if we need advice on camera setup or any of these kind of things, and we can help on a project by project basis. And it's also worth we can refer you to our ITS white paper as well. You can actually find that as a handout on this webinar. So if you find the handout section down the right hand side, you should be able to download our ITS white paper, which covers all this kind of thing in a little bit more detail as well. So it would be good to refer to that if you have more questions. But like I say, we're happy to support you on a project by project basis and help you as best as we can. Okay, next question. So where should I position IR lamps in relation to the camera?
Okay, the IR lamps should generally be positioned as close to the camera as possible. This is particularly important if you're using retroreflective number plates, where the light is reflected back to the source. Moving the lamps away from the camera very slightly has a massive effect on the amount of light that actually hits the camera sensor. So it is really get them as close. If you are having issues with the image being overexposed, it can actually be useful just to move them away slightly until you get a very usable image. If the number plates are non-retroreflective, it isn't as important that the IR lamps are close to the camera because they don't have the same retroreflective properties. But that, of course, has its own issues where you need a lot more light to actually get a usable image from that type of number plate.
Okay, great. Okay, next one. So what is more suitable for traffic LPR? Fixed all-night white light or flash? So I guess this is a kind of a sort of the constant versus pulse debate, but I don't know if I want to talk about this in a little bit more detail.
Yes, so as we sort of mentioned briefly, well, Callum mentioned briefly in his presentation, so in both cases, the white light could cause a nuisance or distraction to the driver, especially if you are putting the light at the front of the vehicle and capturing it at the front. So it's very important to know that that it could cause a nuisance and distraction. Intermittent flashes would obviously cause the highest level of distraction, and we would advise to really look at your application with care and caution and make sure that is right for that application. And we would normally see that the flashing intermittent lighting is more typically used in sort of speed enforcement or red light violation. And then obviously, like everything, the best solution for you would depend on your application. So there's different benefits for different types of lights. So we touched on it for the pulse lighting, for example, that Callum touched upon in his presentation, that you would get more power, lower consumption with a pulse light. But it's very important to know the sort of the nuisance and distraction aspect of this, and that's probably why a lot of applications for LPR tend to use IR instead of white light.
Thank you. So they were the questions which we picked out. Like I said, we had lots of questions in. So again, I'll stress again, thanks very much for those. We haven't been able to answer all of those, but we try to pick the ones which will kind of cover the broadest ones and the broadest categories of questions which we received. As I said at the start, if you've had any questions throughout this, then we're happy to try and answer those now. I'm just going to try and, so if you bear with me for 1 minute, I'll just have a quick look through to see if anyone's put any questions in, or if you have any now, then please feel free to put those on now, and we'll take just a minute to have a look at those, and then we'll try and answer some more. And if we can, we'll try and unmute you so you can ask the questions to us live. So please bear with us for 1 second. So if you bear with me, so we have a question here from Jason Queck. So Jason, I'm just going to try and unmute you, but if you bear with me for 1 second, if not, I can always read the question out for you. This is where we can test the technology out. So we're trying this for the first time, so please do bear with us. So Jason, I'm going to try and unmute you now. So if you'd like to ask your question, please do so. Can you hear us, Jason? Hi, Jason. Okay, I'm not sure if Jason's can hear us, so I'll just read Jason's question out. So Jason's question was, which one is recommended to see through the windscreen, pulse or constant light? John or Corinne, do you want to pick that up first off?
Okay, you could use either. It's a lot of it is down to what camera specification you're using. On pulse light, you can get a lot more power out of it, which will overcome some of the issues, especially during the daytime. But the camera needs to have the output that can be synchronized with the shutter to allow that to operate correctly. So it is really down to which camera you're using.
Yeah, in terms of performance, I think the point I was trying to make earlier was that, and that John said there again, is that constant or pulse is suitable for seeing through the windscreen. That it's really just the amount of power which we can achieve. So obviously, pulse allows us to generate more power. So in some instances that may be more suitable, but again, constant is also a viable option. But as long as you have the right level of power to be able to do that, and like John says, compatibility with the camera as well.
I mean, just out of that, Callum, the images you showed of the comparisons at night time, I was all done using constant light.
Yeah, exactly. So
just
go on, Corinne.
Just to add to that, we've also got a number of images during daytime that we can share as well, that shows us using constant light at daytime as well. So both are viable solutions.
Yeah, I think, and just to mention on that, like Corinne says, we do have more images which we share, and we also did a webinar last week which Corinne did for us, which was all around seeing through the windscreen. We'll actually be putting that on the website the next few days, which people can refer to as well, and we'll be running that for anyone in the UK as a CPD version as well in the coming weeks as well. So that's something to watch out for, anyone who's more interested around that topic. Okay, just looking through the other questions. So question here from Sophie. Sophie, I'll try and unmute you again. Again, I can always read the question out if we can't hear you, but I'll try and unmute you. 1 second. This is Sophie Perot. Hi, Sophie, can you hear me? No.
Hi,
again,
Sophie speaking.
Oh, hi, Sophie.
Hi.
Do you want to ask us your question regarding 850 940 nanometers?
Yeah, maybe you showed us a slide with a comparison of pictures taken with wide and different infrareds and far red illumination, and I wanted to know if for each of them, and especially between the 850 and the 940 nanometers, if you use the same sensor. And because typically at 940 nanometers, the sensors are less sensitive than at 850. So I wanted to know how you manage this.
The cameras and the images you saw, it was using the same camera, so the same sensor, but you're correct that the sensors are a lot less sensitive in 940. There is some high-end cameras which claim are better at the sort of 940 and higher wavelengths, but they are very expensive and they're very much a specialist item. So it is one thing that needs to be considered, that performance of the camera at 940 isn't as good.
Hi, Sophie, it's Tony here as well. I think the other thing to mention is that generally 940 nanometer LEDs are less powerful than 850 nanometer LEDs. So the difference in the picture that you saw would be a combination of the fact that the CCD sensor on the camera is less sensitive to 950 nanometers, and there is less 950 nanometer power actually on scene. So it's a combination of the two things.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sophie. Okay, Doug, just having again a little look through other questions that we have. Again, I'm just scrolling through, so please bear with me. So I have a question here from Piet. I'm just going to try and unmute you, Piet. Again, give me 2 seconds. I'm just looking down the list. Okay, so I'll try and unmute you again. If I can always ask the question if you don't have a microphone plugged in, but can you hear me, Piet? No, it doesn't sound like, but I'll put your question to the others as well. So Piet's question was, does it make sense to use pulse lighting when you don't sync it with the camera shutter speed? So I presume when the light is not pulsed with the camera shutter, does it make sense to use pulse lighting?
No, because in that situation it wouldn't work. So it really needs for it to be linked to the shutter speed.
Yeah, so I think the whole premise really of pulse lighting is that it can do that in time with the camera shutter. So that really is quite essential for the performance of that pulse illuminator. So I think that was the majority of the questions that we've had. What we'll do is we'll stay online for another few minutes. So if you do have any other questions, then please send them through. But just for the time being, I'll mute the microphones and turn off the webcam. So if you do send anything through, we'll pick them up. But just again, another statement to say thank you very much for attending. It's been great to hold our first Raytec Live. I think we may look to do this again based on some of the other sectors which we talked about at the start, but it's been great to speak to a few of you as well and to get your questions in. It was great to get some questions from you at the start, which we've hopefully been able to answer. Some of those which were on a more individual basis, we'll try and come back to you one-to-one for anything which we couldn't cover in today's session, and we will get back to you as well. But we'll also share out a copy of the recording today, as well as a copy of the slides if anyone wants to take a look through, and they'll have links through to some other products that we've mentioned as well. So thank you very much, and like I say, hope everyone stays safe and well, and thanks again for attending today. Thank you.